Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. In today's electric guitar lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. It's an absolute classic. So, before we get into today, there's a free PDF that you can download for this lesson. I've split it up into two parts. It's all within the same document. So for the first half of the video, I'm going to give you the chords so that you can have a strum along, and the first couple of pages of the PDF, that's what I'm following. And then we're going to have a look at all the lead guitar parts and how I'd kind of on an Only Guitarist on the gig approach, how I'd play the chords and get all the tasty lead bits in. That's the second half of this PDF. You can go to the first link in the description. That'll take you to my website where you can download this PDF completely for free, along with nearly 100 other free guitar tabs with accompanying lessons. There's no sign-ups, there's no BS. You just literally go on the website and download it. It's really going to help you with this lesson. If you like the way that I teach and you'd like a little bit more of me, I'd urge you to check out the second link in the description, which is the Kirklees Guitar School Academy. This is my membership platform where you get extra resources for every lesson that I deliver on YouTube. Right then, so let's get into it. So as I've said, this is we're going to start with the rhythm stuff first, and then we'll have a look at the lead stuff later on, and then I'm going to show you the guitar tones and my settings on the Boss Katana that I'm using today at the end of the video. Use the chapters feature if you only want a certain bit. Okay, right, let's go for the chords first. So these are the chords that we're using today. I've got a capo on the first fret, which is really important to mention. So we've got a G chord, a D, an E minor, an A minor, a C, a B minor, and then we've got an E flat. That only comes up once, and it's right at the end of the song, so don't freak out. It only comes up once, and I've got a little bit of a trick that'll help you with that. So let's have a look at the rhythm part. So the vast majority of this, there's two rhythms for the song, which we're going to look at as it comes up. The first of which is a down, down, up, down strumming pattern, and we start that with the G chord, but it's a little bit swung. I'm just going to go around. Let me play all four of these bars, and I want you to listen to my strumming because I'm going down, down, up, down, but I'm sort of being a bit loosey-goosey and a little bit freer with the timing, which is where I'm sort of getting the swung idea from. Now we are going to look at the. We're going to have a look at that in a second. If that's what you want to look at, use the chapters feature, but we'll get the chords down first. So with down, down, up, down, I'm going to strum through G, E minor, C, and D. And that continues on to the verse. And she starts singing here, Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. We're going to do 2 bars of G. D. The rhythm changes here. Now, we are going to come back here. I've got both bits together for the verse. But let's just have a look at the second part of the verse first. So we're breaking out of the down, down, up, strumming pattern to just go to downstrokes for when two chords share a bar in this song. I want you to just automatically go to downstrokes. So after we've played those 2 bars of D, you're going to do 2 strokes of A minor, 2 strokes of D, 2 strokes of A minor, 2 strokes of D, 2 strokes of A minor, 2 strokes of D. And then can you see how the rhythm changes? Every time the rhythm changes in this song, I will let you know by writing the correct sheet music. If you get the 4 dashes, that just means it's business as usual and you keep doing the rhythm that I last told you to do. So we're going to do downstrokes for all of these 3 bars. But then when we go back to this G chord where it's 1 chord per bar, we're going to go back to the down, down, up, down strumming pattern. Let me go from here. A minor to D. And then we're going to resolve to G with the strumming. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. A, D, A, D, A, D. Back to the strumming pattern. Now, if we glue those two slides together that we've spoken about so far, that's what it looks like. So this is from bar 5 on the PDF. 2 bars of G, 2 bars of D with the down, down, up strumming pattern. And then what we've just spoken about on the bottom line here, where we go A minor to D with downstrokes and then resolve back to the strumming pattern. Let me play the whole thing for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every verse and the sax solo in this song look like this, and it's played exactly the same way each time. So we've done the intro, we've then played verse 1, and this song has verse 1 and the verse 2 back to back. So from bar, does that say 13? I can't see it from all the way over there. Verse 2 is identical to verse 1. There's nothing new in that. We just literally repeat the same thing again. So the verse and the intro are very similar, and then we're going to get into the you will get a sentimental feeling, do you? Now harmonically, there's quite a lot going on here. It's quite interesting. It sort of goes from this really kind of happy sort of 1645 style kind of pop song of that era, and it gets a little bit. The harmony gets a little bit unsure, and I think this is the main hook. Without you knowing it, this is the main hook of the song. This is the bit that everybody remembers, and I think it's fab. So I've titled it the bridge. Whether you want to call it the chorus, I wasn't quite sure what to label it, but we're sticking throughout all of this, apart from the last 2 bars where we go to that A chord, which I'll tell you about in a second. We're going to keep with the down, down, up, down, up. So we're going to go 2 bars of C to B minor. Now I've opted to go for the open chord version of the B minor, where you only play 4 strings, kind of like a D chord. If you're able to put the bar chord in, by all means be my guest. I just wanted to make it as accessible as possible for everybody. So we're going to go at that B minor for 2 bars. We then go to E minor. Let's I've forgotten the lyric off the top of my head. Let's be jolly. Deck the halls with the halls of holly. So we go to that A chord, and we're going to strike that A chord. And you see the line connecting the two. That's called a tie, or I call them washing lines. That's telling you you're going to play that A chord on the first beat of the 7th bar, and you're going to hold it for 2 whole measures. You're going to hold it for 8 beats in total before we go to the next part. Now you will hear the bass do like a let's be jolly, deck the halls with them. You'll hear like a bit of a walking bass part at the end. If you stick around for the lead portion of this lesson, I'll teach you how to play that. But if you're just strictly rhythm, just hit that A chord and let it ring out. Let me go from here. I'll play you all 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. C. B minor. E minor. And then we're going to go A. Now you can either let that ring out, or you can chop it if you're going to go to the walking bass part that I'll explain later on. Either's fine. So you've got the main 2 parts for the song there. You've got the verse, which looks like that, which is an 8-bar phrase, which we're going to play twice, and then you've got your bridge. Following it on from that, we're going to play verse 3. Now, just because of the way that the PDF's sort of turned out with the formatting of the PDF, I haven't got all 8 bars here, but verse 3 is identical to verse 1 and verse 2. It just bridges the gap between the first and the second page of the PDF. Following that, we go into the solo. Now, the solo's a saxophone, and we're just going to play a verse underneath it. This, although it's labelled solo, and you see these funny-looking brackets either side of the 8 bars, that means we're going to play this twice, okay? We're going to play this 8-bar phrase twice, but the saxophone's going to be doing its thing, and we're just kind of minding his own business. Just strumming like a verse, but you're letting the saxophonist take their solo. Nothing to write home about. Just remember, repeat markers when you need to play this bit twice. Following on from there, we go into verse 4. Now, verse 4 kind of doubles up as the ending. So I've sort of put it all, this is at the bottom of the second page of the PDF. I've sort of laid all this out, and then we'll start to dissect it. But what I'd like you to see, can you see the beginning of the verse, the first 6 bars of the verse, let's say, are identical to the prior 3 verses that we've done. So you've got G, 2 bars, to D, A minor D, but this is where, after that 6th bar, this is where it starts to change. You would usually do another bar of A minor and D followed by a bar of G. Well, we go into the new old-fashioned way. It goes into the ending. So what I've opted to do here, depending on which version you're looking at, if you're doing the chords, this is how I want you to play it. If you're doing the lead part, I've got the little lead lick that the electric guitar does to show you in a second. But what I'm going to do is, where it says, can you see on the 7th bar, there's a crotchet rest at the beginning of the bar and it says new above it. Now what you want to do is you almost want to play a little bit of call and response with the singer. She's going to sing new. You're then going to play a D chord, just a bog standard D chord, but it's on beat 2 of the bar. So you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has this kind of like, it does like a little bit of a hop skip and a jump. Let's have a look here. A minor D, A minor D. You're going to rest on beat 1. So she's going to say new. As soon as she said new, you're going to strum a D chord. She's going to say old, and you're going to play an E flat. Now, E flat, it is in the diagram that I've provided with the PDF. There's some chord boxes for this. But if you take that D chord and just move it up 1 fret, so instead of fret 2 and fret 3, you move it up to fret 3 and fret 4, and you just strike those three strings on the bottom that you're pressing down. That'll give you a little cheeky E flat that you can use, because we're only there for a split second. You see, we rest on beat 1, play that D chord on beat 2, rest on beat 3, play the E flat on beat 4. Now you hear I'm hitting the guitar just so that you've got something to kind of, a bit of a marker. If you're not as, if you're a little bit with crotchets and quavers and beats and things, go off the lyrics. She sings new, play a D chord. She sings old, you play an E flat chord. And in between, fashioned being a 2-syllable word, she's going to say the fash of fashioned, and then I want you to play just a bog standard E minor. New, old-fashioned way. And then it goes back into the ending, okay? Where it's very similar to the intro. We go back to down up. You see how it says way? When she says way, fashioned way, that's where your G chord is. We're going to go back to the down, down, up strumming. C. And then let's have a look at this G chord here. Can you see how the rhythm changes? We're literally just going to play a down, down, up. And you see how we've got a load of ties, a load of washing lines hanging onto that note. What that means is you're going to play down, down, up, and that 3rd stroke that you've played, that up stroke, you're just going to let it ring out. Down, down, up. That's what that bar sounds like. Let me play it all. So now we're going to have a look at the lead parts for the song. Now I just want to caveat this first, because we're using a capo on the 1st fret. I need to introduce something that I'm calling relative versus absolute notation, which I'll explain in a second. But what I've tried to do here is very clearly a couple of different guitar parts layered on the top. And the guitarist that does all the kind of cool lead stuff, you know, that we're going to look at, just kind of hops, sort of jumps in and out of the record and spends a lot of time sat on his hands not really doing much. So if I was contracted by a band to come and play this, which I have done before, I've got to try and play the chords to fill those gaps between the bits. Now, this is my kind of best version of trying to strum the bits where the lead guitar's not needed, but then get the key parts of the lead guitar in as well. Okay, so let's just talk about this. There we go. Relative versus absolute notation. Now, what's going to happen? You're going to find the technical focus in the academy. I talk about this quite a bit more. I've done a full lesson on it, but you are going to find that the capo being on the first fret, you need to look at the frets on the music as to whether you're accounting for the change of the 0 fret. Now, what I mean by that is, if we just zoom in on my guitar here, I've got a capo on the first fret. So that means this becomes fret 0 just as your nut would be if you weren't using a capo. And this means that we can use the G, C, D, E minor chords that we've been using for the song, and we don't have to play a load of bar chords. But when we have to play, say, this D chord, and then go right up to the dusty end and mirror the same shape 12 frets higher, I don't want to have to lop a fret off this side, because when I'm looking down here around this part of the neck, I can't see the capo in my peripheral vision, and it's going to be really confusing having to deduct a fret from everything. So what I'd like to introduce is anywhere from the 8th fret on the guitar upwards, I don't want you to account for the capo. I want you to just imagine there's no capo on the guitar, and past the 8th fret, if I say the 12th fret, it's the 12th fret, it's where the marker is. If I say it's the 15th fret, it's the 15th fret marker. And I've notated it that way too, because I sat on this for quite a while. I wasn't sure whether to account for the loss of a fret, but I figured that you'd get the most value out of that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Go check out the extra lesson in the academy if you need some more clarity on that, or flag it in the comments and we can have some backwards and forwards. Right. All that said, we're going to start with the lead part. So we're going to let the guys do the chords, and we're going to play the 16th fret, the actual 16th fret, on the B and the high E strings, and I'm going to play it twice. I'm going to bar it. And then can you see there's some lines here? That means there's a slide. I'm going to pick it twice. And then I'm going to slide out of it. I'm going to repeat this twice. Moving on from there, you're going to play that twice in quick succession. Still barring the 16th fret. So you've got two quick ones with a slide. Then you're going to go. Now, what I'd probably do from this point, we need to do this little walk down. Now, what I'm going to do, when I get to these two 16s here, I'm actually going to jam my middle finger and my ring finger into those 16th frets, and I'll tell you why. Because we need to pull off to the 15th fret here. Can you see how I'm pressing down with the middle finger on the B string, the ring finger on the high E, and I'm pressing the 15th fret behind it with the index finger. I'm going to pluck both strings here and then pull off to the 15. It's the only time you're going to have to pull off in all this. That everything else is slides. From here. It's taken me a while to get because it's real. There's no room up here at all, especially when you've got shovels for hands. Your fingers are now in the right position for this note where you're going to play it and you're going to slide down. And you want to, instead of having no gap between the two, you want a fret gap. So you're going to slide down from 15 on the high E to 13 on the high E, and then 16 on the B to 15 on the B. That's these two here. So I'm only picking the first note and then I slide into the next one. I'm then going to see my fingers are in the right position here. So I'm going to pluck that with an upstroke and I'm going to slide it down 2 frets. And then my fingers are in the right position here. I'm going to pick it with an upstroke and slide it down 2 frets. Really fiddly. It's taken me quite a while to get this under my fingers this week. So that's the intro, and I'd I'd recommend that you spend most of your time there. Out of the whole song, the first couple of bars are the most difficult for the lead guitar parts. Everything else is pretty vanilla from there, and it might be one of those where spend a good kind of 3/4 of an hour on that intro, and if it's still caving your head in, go do something else for a little bit. So let's press on. Now, this is where my chords come in. Can you see this is verse 1, and all those verses are more or less identical. Now, this is the down, down, up, down, up strumming pattern that we spoke about previously, and I'm just going to strum that like I would regular. Go to a D chord. Then when we get here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike the D chord as if I was going to start strumming for a second bar, and I'm going to slide up 12 frets up to the fret 15 with the index and the middle fingers, and fret 16 with the B string. Sorry, I lost my trail of thought there. Now that sounds a lot more grandiose than it is. You just pick it once, keep the pressure on the fingers and slide it up. But you don't want this. I don't want to hear the steps in the frets. I want a smooth pick, like, it doesn't matter how fast or slow you slide up to that, but I want you to sort of make sure that you're travelling at the same speed all the way up. And then once I get up here, I do a quick down and an up. And then you need to be making your way back down for the next bar. Moving on from there. A minor and D are exactly the same. Just downstrokes like we did. And then you've got this funny little lick here where I'm going to play the 11th fret, the actual 11th fret with the index finger, and the 12th fret with the middle finger. And I'm going to do 3 upstrokes. Now, it's quite hard to notate this because he's not bending it very far, but he's just bending that out of tune ever so slightly. And he does 3. It's almost like he's like, come on, I'm over here. I'm still here. Listen to me, you know? Really, really great, like rockabilly style lick. Now, on the second time round that, you'll find this is verse 2. We still retain the slide in that D chord. But then if you have a look at the very last bar, instead of having that little rockabilly lick that we just spoken about, he plays a G chord higher up the neck here, and does the same thing, the 3 notes, but instead of playing this for the second verse, he's going to play this little triangle on fret 8, fret 9, and fret 8 of the G, the B, and the D. The G, the B, and the high E strings. And we're going to do 3 upstrokes there. That's verse 2. Where are we? There we are. Let me play all of that for you. Verse 2. A minor and D. Then's that G chord. Same idea, it's just a variation on a theme, but can you see how the whole song kind of, it takes the chord that the band are playing and just does it a little bit further up the neck in this kind of rockabilly style, and it's just enough. Like, I don't feel like he's overdoing it. He gives the sax solo enough time to breathe, which we're going to talk about in a second. But the best way to look at this is learn the strumming version of the song, and then go, right, I'm going to nail that verse lick today, and I'm just going to get that one in. Rather than trying to sight read it all and try to do all the little inflections, just focus on one and do it really well. Then bolt another one on, etc. Now, we need to now talk about the bridge. Now, you will get a sentimental feeling. When it goes to the C chord, we're just going to play that C and that B minor normally. We'll get a sentimental B minor when you're here. Then we go into voices singing Let's Be Jolly. We're going to go to the the E minor, just as normal. Voices singing Let's Be Jolly. Now, rather than playing that A chord and holding it for 2 bars like the rhythm guitar is going to do, we're going to play that A chord, and and you see all these rests after it. So you're going to play that A chord, and then I want you to use your palm to mute the guitar and stop it from ringing out. And then we've got this little like walking bass part. 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, oh. And you see how we're just walking down the A string. 2, 3, 4, and I'm using 3 fingers there. You can use 1 finger if you want, it doesn't matter. But it's just getting it in and getting it in the right time. You need to wait for these 3 rests here, okay? Hit the A chord on beat 1, rest for beat 2, beat 3 and beat 4, and then walk down it, and you'll have the bass to guide you there as well. Right, okay, so from that point, sorry, I just got a bit disorientated with my slides. So from that point, you're going to go into the sax solo, and the sax solo is identical to the way that we're doing it in the rhythm guitar version of this song. It's really important when you're the soloist and you're kind of doing all the cool little fun bits, that when somebody else is doing their cool little fun bit, i.e. a saxophone solo, it's really important that you just take a step back and let them do their thing. Just because you're the lead guitarist doesn't mean that you have to be playing fast pentatonic licks all the time. So I just want you to strum the chords underneath that like a regular verse. It's notated on the PDF for you in tabs. And then we get into the final verse. Now the final verse of the song after the sax solo, 2 bars of G, bar of D. This D thing over here, where are we? This D thing over here, top right hand corner, is exactly the same as what we've always done. A minor D, A minor D. Now, if you remember in the rhythm version, the ending, new old fashioned way, rather than doing the chords, we're going to play some single notes here. So you've got, I'm looking at the middle line now. You've got A minor D, A minor D, and then you've got 10th fret, 11th fret, 12th fret, and 14th fret down here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to do the downstrokes like we always have done. And then we're going to rest. Now, we played a D chord here in the rhythm guitar part. I just want you to play the 10th fret of the high E string, the actual 10th fret. You're going to then rest on beat 3, and you're going to play fret 11. You're then going to rest on beat 1 of the next bar, play fret 12. You're going to rest again, and now instead of fret 13, I want you to go to 14. Sounds a little bit weird in the room, but when you do it with the recording, it'll make a lot of sense. So that's new, old, fashioned way, and then it goes into the ending, which looks like this, where we're essentially going to take the 16th fret of the high E string and we're just going to keep doing that 5 times, and then this G chord at the end of the second verse, we're going to play that again and slide out of it. You'll have to forgive me, my guitar's gone a little bit out of tune. This guitar is really, I don't know. We have a love-hate relationship with this guitar. It's stayed in tune and been great because it's got the Bigsby on it, and they are renowned for not holding the tune as well as one with a Tune-o-matic bridge. But it's behaved itself for the past couple of days, because I was thinking, what guitar am I going to make this lesson with? And I thought, we'll go for the rockabilly kind of 50s thing. And it's behaved up until the last 2 minutes of this video. So I'm sorry for any tuning problems, but anyway. Right, well, that's a really good place to start. We'll talk about gear. So I'm using a Epiphone ES355 with a Bigsby and a Veritone. I'm just using the middle, a combination of both pickups. You see how my pickup selector is in the middle. My volume and tones on the guitar are all on 10. I've got a capo on the 1st fret, and I'm using both pickups. When you're using a capo on the 1st fret, it's the hardest fret for any guitar to get any purchase on is the 1st fret, just simply because the nut is quite, it doesn't budge, basically. There's no flex in it. So what I want you to do when you put a capo on the 1st fret, instead of going in the middle of the fret like you normally would, come a little bit further over to what, not on top of the fret wire, but maybe if that's 50-50, we want sort of 75-25. And make sure your capo's on tight enough and you're not getting any buzzing. That's a really good example, is that. I need to tighten that up so it doesn't buzz. There we go, that's better. And you might need to retune your guitar after putting the capo on the first fret. Some guitars, particularly like my Stratocaster, for example, does not like capos. Some of them do. I'm using a Boss Katana 2 today, just with the clean channel. Where's my tones? It's here somewhere. There we go. Right. So that's what I'm using today. Those are the settings. I'm using the clean channel with the gain and the volume on at 12 o'clock. I've rolled the bass off a little bit, but this guitar, being a Gibson style guitar, is and humbucking pickups, it's quite bassy. If you're using a Stratocaster, I'd probably add a little bit more bass in. Trebles at 2 o'clock, and then I've just got a splash of reverb, and I think I'm using it on the half a watt setting. I can't see that from all the way over there. And that's plugged into, and there's no sort of, that's just plugged straight into my audio interface. There's no sort of like gremlins that come after it. It's just really nice kind of clean tone, but plenty of reverb for when I'm doing the when I'm doing all those rockabilly bits. So, first Christmas song of 2025. How did you find it? Let me know in the comments. If you've got any recommendations for another couple of Christmas songs that I can fit in before the big day comes, let me know in the comments down below. I will see you next week for another Christmas lesson. Thank you so much.